Hello and welcome to the VEST webinar series. I'm Frank Newsom, your moderator for today's webinar session. And today we'll show you how to manage pipe, tube, and fitting callouts within HyDraw CAD. This webinar will last approximately 30 minutes. You'll be able to submit questions or comments at any time during the webinar by posting in the questions section located within your webinar control panel. Questions may be answered as they're posted, or we'll try to address them in the last 5 minutes or so of the webinar. Note that today's session is being recorded and that the audio is muted for all attendees. If you're experiencing any technical issues, please use the chat window to alert our support staff. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today's webinar session, Carlo Molon. Carlo has worked in the hydraulics industry for many years and currently manages application sales and training for VEST desktop and cloud products. Carlo?
Thank you, Frank, for the introduction, and thank you all attendees for joining today's webinar. So today we have half an hour. We'll look at how to manage tubing and also fittings in HyDraw CAD. I will be using HyDraw CAD 2024 with the library manager. I start with a small diagram, and my intent is to describe tubes, show attributes in the connection lines, and also show a technique to manage fittings. So sometimes during training I get this request about how to manage fittings in HyDraw CAD. There are several techniques according to the type of usage. Every now and then I suggest a different approach, but today I'll try to cover all aspects. So let me first start sketching a couple of connection lines. So this is a manifold connected to a hydraulic motor, and which will be connected to another part of a system through connection lines, which will be my tubes. I just draw two lines, and I draw an envelope. This technique of creating envelopes may be used also to generate some small P&Is diagrams. So when you make a connection line and break a connection line with envelope command, remember that it will automatically create external ports. That may be used to, may be interesting to conceptualize a diagram in order how the connection are made between different functional units. So that's my A port. And as of now, I'm not going to size the port. I start from the connection line. So basically, this line is where I'm starting my work today. And let me give a name to this line, MA. So when you provide a name to a line, the name will automatically be displayed on top of the connection line. It is possible to move the text where you want along the connection line. Please remember, anytime you move the line or you use the stretch command, the name of the line will go automatically on always on the starting point. So if the line starts from the bottom left, then the name will be on the bottom left. There is an option in HyDraw CAD which allows you, and this may be interesting if you do very large diagrams, and I see from the audience that we have a customer doing large diagrams here attending today. There is an option where you can show line ID from on both ends if the line is larger than, and you can define what is the length. So as an example, my line MB. Now this will show it may be just shorter than 120, but with that option, connection line, the line properties will be shown at the start and end of a connection line if it is larger than a specific length. When it's up to define the attributes for this connection line, we need to go on the right on the property manager, like you used to go to the property manager to see component attributes. In case of connection line, you will not see immediately attributes, because basically a connection line can have different, can represent a different type of components: pipe, tube, hose, and drill hole. Today we focus on tube, where we already have a library, and the standard library of HyDraw CAD comes with with the tubing. So I define as a tube, and automatically, as you can see, some attributes are showing up here. There are some display settings, and now it's only the size that is displayed. Today I show how to add additional display setting to the tubing. But first, let's start adding information. So maybe my tube is rated 300 liters per minute, and the pressure is 200 bar. So when you type design requirements, design requirement is the place where you should type in your operating point in your system. These information are used by a HyDraw CAD in order to find the correct tube size according to your velocity. So you can change the velocity, 5 meters per second, 4 meters per second, and so on. And HyDraw will show you the tubing that can match your desired velocity. When you select a tube, then the information will be displayed. You may not need only to display the size, but you may feel the need to add additional information like the flow rate, like the material. So if you want to customize the type of information that are displayed along the connection line, then you will need to work on the library manager. So let me start library manager. And to manage a connection line, you need to go to the connection. There you have the pipe and the tube and the hose. Today we focus on tube, but the same approach can be applied to hose and to pipe. Basically, on tube we define all the metric tubes, and on pipe it's a place where you define the schedule number, the oil and gas tubing that are defined by different norm. But basically there is no physical difference between the two type of components. So here we have a lot of standard material. The standard library comes with a lot of standard sizes. Recently on a training for a customer, I suggested to remove all and add only the few materials that were needed. So it's up to you if you want to use all this size, otherwise it's better you delete what you don't need. If you find the size you need, but you want to change the material naming, just feel free to go to the top right material, click on the three dots, and here you just can rename the name. So if you change the name and click save, this will automatically save that material name to all the tubing that are related to that material name. Like I said, I wanted to customize the displayed attribute for this tube. I want to display the flow rate. So in order to do that, the rated flow is a design property. So I need to go to the design property and select my max flow, and I'll make it available for the display format and click save. Now this is not enough. I need to create a display format, so I create a new display format. I'm going to call it as rated flow. And the display format will be linked to my design property max flow. And I want to display the unit, and I also want to add a prefix Q column, and that's the rated flow. Save. Now I need to define which type of connections will use this rated flow attribute. In order to do that, you need to go to the connectors. The connectors are those type of connection line that you can use in HyDraw CAD. Basically, on a connector, you can define the model properties and also the display format. So I'm adding the rated flow. And as you can see in my library, I have defined also a pipe size, hose size, and other custom display format. But today we just focus on the rated flow. So now my tube connector has also the rated flow. So any new tube I will add to my database, to my drawing, will show also the rated flow. Let's try it now. So let me take this line and make it a tube. So now in the display setting, I expect to see also the rated flow. By default, it's set to hide. Please remember, this is something we are probably going to change in next versions of HyDraw CAD. Every new display format is set hidden by default. And if you want to make it always visible, you'll need to go to the options, application settings, display format, and click reset. Now the rated flow is available, and there you can define if it is always shown or hidden. Now, when an entity is already created, you will need just to make it visible. Let's do the same. I do the same 200 liters per minute, 300 bar. And as you can see, I already get the flow rate just by typing the rated flow. Well, it was the opposite, 300 liters per minute, 200 bar. And if I go and search for my velocity, then I'll be able to select the material I want. And now I have a combined information. I have the size and also the rated flow. And like I said, you can move the text along the connection line. At present, the current behavior cannot be changed, so every display format will be always added over the connection line. And as you can see now, it added the display format on both ends, like it was supposed to, because the line is longer than 120 millimeters. The same also applied here to the other connection line. So in case your diagram have a very long connection line, this technique may be worth considering, because no matter how you print the diagram, you will see the information on both sides of the connection lines. So with this approach, you can create the custom attributes for connection line and also make them visible by using the library manager. Now let's focus on port size and fittings. So in terms of if this is a tube, I will need a fitting to fit into a port. And if I take a catalog of fittings, let me go to, I took a Parker catalog, so I have made a small Excel file with a lot of fittings. So this is just a standard Parker catalog with light, strong fitting, BSP fitting for tubing. I have made a small Excel file where I took some information, and today I'll show you how to add these fittings into the library and the two possible techniques to handle these fittings. So in my case, in the diagram I have made, I need a 42 millimeter diameter. So I will need a DN42. So it will be it could be an M48 by 2, or I think this one, it's a G1 by 2, 42 Parker connection. So I can go to HyDraw CAD, and one technique which I've been suggesting for many in many cases was to use accessories, but today I will not show you accessories because I don't find them handy. I see a questions, and later I'm going to reply to the question. So when you have a component, it can be also a port. I'll be able to look for accessories, and if I have accessories in the library, I'll be able to search them. And as you can see, I have added some accessories to my library. So in this case, I could use the G42 add. Okay, and now this is becoming a fitting. Adding an accessory, I'll show you later how to add to the library through the library manager. I don't like to match this technique because it is true that with this technique, I'm able to link a fitting directly to a port, but I have no way to display information for this fitting. And also I have no practical way to extract a list of only fittings in from my diagram, which may be handy. So although this technique may work, and using accessories to handle fittings is a good approach, this is not what I'm going to do now. Recently, I've been finding a customer that was needing not the fitting, not for his system, because he later was going to request directly the assembly of the manifold with the fittings inside. So it didn't need the fitting directly on his bill of material. So one technique to handle this is really to go for ports. I go to BSP. I need a BSP 1x2, 1 inch 1x2. So this is the standard BSP port. But basically, here what I could do is I could write 42L. And I could also save it to my library, so that the next time, instead of looking in my BSP directly for the standard BSP port, I can find also a BSP port with the definition of the size of the fitting. This again is another method to handle fittings on an external port. In this case, if I do the same, I can copy this with this one, copying the entire information. As you can see, my port has a size for a thread, and also describe the size of the tube that is going here. In order to extract the list of, in this case of basically the list of fittings, I could use the port list. So if I do a port list for this diagram, just the portion of the diagram, instead of finding only the size G1x2, I'll be able to get also the size of the fitting, 42L, which is later be added to a part number and so on. Please remember, it is possible to create custom attributes for the ports. So here you could also add the part number for the fitting. I would suggest this technique in case you are defining a system, you are not really taking care about purchasing the fittings, but you want to describe, to communicate with your supplier what are the size that you need for your system. So if this is the case, like a couple of customers I recently supported, this is a good technique to provide additional information in the diagram that will help the fitting selection. But now let's go on and describe a third technique to manage fittings, which I think is probably better and provides you more flexibility in terms of database. So, and if you have questions, just feel free to ask. Well, there is one, and is it possible to get the drop-down menus in Property Manager always shown expanded? No, unfortunately not. So these drop-downs are hidden by default, and also the accessories are hidden by default. So unfortunately, there is no way to control which attributes are visible, which are not. So these drop-downs are fixed as they are. Okay, let's get back to the library manager. And instead of handling fittings as accessories, I will go to components. So you know that HyDraw CAD has a lot of flexibility and allows you to create several component types. So if I go to my component types, now you will see I already have a component type called fittings. In order to create a component type, I get one step back from components, component types. You just create a new component type, you specify a name, a component group, and then you save. Now, I want to go back to the fittings that I have created. As you can see, I have assigned a component group hose, although it's not a hose, but the component group is basically a macro category in HyDraw CAD that allows you to extract additional information to control a different behavior by component type. The component group hose is particular because it is linked. So any component that is using the component group hose, all the information can be extracted with the hose assembly part list. So today the technique I'm showing is by using the hose assembly, I will get a list of fittings. So what I did is I created a fitting component type linked to the component group hose. And like a component group, I really can add additional display format. For now, I don't add any, but I just leave with this set of attributes. For a fitting, what I need is a model code, a model family, a part number, a description. I have the rated flow, rated pressure, the port size is important, and the nominal size as well important. You can customize the attributes for the component type just by adding new property here, like here. So now I want to import. So I go to model data view and I want to import from Excel, from my list of fittings. I want to import from the sheet 1 in my Excel file, add new models by model code. Next. My Excel list has headers. I want to select all and click next. And I can map equivalent attributes. So the model code, the nominal size, the port size, rated pressure. Next. As you can see, I have the list of all my fittings that were in the Excel file. I select all. I will need to specify a component type. It was not in the Excel file, it's easy. Assign a component type, and that's a fitting. Fittings. Import. Yes. And now all my fittings, which are visible, they start with GE. I have all my fittings into my library manager. They are not linked to any symbol. And now this is another suggestion I have for you. Frequently, I suggest the customer to use placeholders like symbols. So although a fitting is not considered as a functional component, as a valve, as a port, so it's a component without a symbol. But for the way I want to manage the fittings, I find it much easier if it is linked to a symbol. So what I did is I created just a small cross. That's my symbol for the fitting, which I'm going to use as a placeholder for the fitting. So basically in this symbol, which I place here, it can be smaller. And as you can see, when I place it as a different balloon style, because it's considered like a hose component group. So the balloon size for these items is controlled in the HyDraw options. In the balloon type, all the hose will have a different balloon type. So since fittings, pipes, tubes, hose are all related to connection line, it really makes sense to use the hose component group also for the fittings in. So they get separated from the other items, so it's clear that it's a different entity from a valve, from a pump, from a motor. And now, if I select this symbol and search in the library, in my local database, there would be nothing because I have no items linked to that symbol. I could click all models, and here I have all the list of fittings that I have just loaded into my library. If you don't want to use the all models here, just feel free to go to the library manager, go to symbol view. You take the symbol that I'm working with, fittings. From the symbol on the top right, I can link existing model to the symbol. So now this will list all the fittings. I can select all. Okay, and now I have all my fittings into the database. So now let's get back here. When I take the fitting, I can search into the database. I need a nominal size of 42, and I need a G1 by 2. Okay. And so now in this case, really the port, I can use the standard ports, BSP, without describing the. So this is my fitting. I can copy my fitting here as well. And automatically they get doubled with the same item number with quantity 2. Also, I can copy the port size. Similarly, I will need to copy my fitting here and here, because I assume that from the other manifold there will be the same port size, but they could be different. And now we'll see a different case on a different portion of the diagram. So I can copy the same size between ports A and B. The advantage of using symbols for the fittings in this case is that it is very flexible and you can display attributes. As an example, I do just that in the drawing. I can add a new display format just for this fitting, but let's do for both the two fittings. I want to create a new display format called model code, where I want to display the model code. Add. So there, as you can see, I have the ability to display the fitting size directly next to the drawing. This is not possible with accessories. Accessory attributes cannot be displayed in the drawing, while a component attribute can be displayed in the drawing. Of course, if you want always to display the model code for a fitting or the size, you just can go into the library manager, and we already did some webinars explaining how to do that in the library manager for component types. Now let's go to a different case. I want to make the drain line. So the motor, and in a month we'll have an MD Tools webinar showing how to design a manifold mounted to an hydraulic motor. I'll probably use this case as a small example. So basically I have a motor which is flanged to the manifold, well, a manifold flanged to the motor, and the drain will be connected through a tube to a drain port. So here we have two different port size. So I'll take my fitting symbol here. Well, first let's start sizing the drain line. That's my M drain, motor drain. It's a tube, and the flow rate is 10 liters per minute. And the nominal size, well, really this is very, very small drain. So let me take a 10 by 1. There will be no high pressure here. So that's my, as you can see, there is also the displayed flow rate. So I need a 10 nominal size. So I go to search and go by nominal size 10, and that's an M18 by 1.5. So in my library it was not there, because the M18 is the standard is 15 millimeters. So I'll take just this one, and I'll make it a different one, 10 M8.1. So I can look always at the Parker catalog, and I think I'll be able to find the metric with a 10 millimeter size. Yes, this is the part number GE. Let me highlight it. This is the part number G10LM18, so I'll do the same. G10LM18 by 1.5, that's an M18 by 1.5. The nominal size is 10. I can save it to the library so that next time I'll find it in my library. In fact, now if I search again, I will find my new item which I've just created. Here on the 3x8, I'll add also the fitting symbol, and I'll load, search from the library, and by nominal size I filter by 10. and I'll take the 3x8. Having all the attributes will really make the selection much easier. If you use the accessories, it won't be that easy. So now I have my fittings. And now let's extract this information. So like I said, by using the tube component group, if I do a hose assembly part list of the entire system, next, I will get just my list of fittings, which of course can be customized. So this is the command I used is hose assembly, and hose assembly is a special part list considering only components belonging to the component type hose. So if you have symbols belonging to the component type hose, they can have different balloons, and there can be a different part list, which is called hose assembly because historically it was made in HyDraw CAD to manage hose assembly, but really you can use in other ways according to your needs. So this will be my fitting list. Fittings. And if I want to make the tube list, then there is a dedicated command which is available since a couple of versions of HyDraw CAD. It's called the connector list. So the connector list on a diagram is taking all the connection lines defined as hose or pipe and tubes. In this case, I'm doing the tube list, so pipe and tube. Next. And I can place it in the drawing. So like you can see, the connector list is describing the line name, which I have provided to the connection line. So the line ID is here, the name of the connection line. Has also the nominal size, which is the size of the tube, the material, the flow in this case, and also the from to. So the interesting aspect of connector list is that it has also the ability to describe the routing. So from where it is starting and where it is ending. So in case of a line ending to another line, it will show the destination as the ID of the connection line. And in this case, it's showing the port name for the manifold. So 1A, so manifold 1, port A, and manifold 7, port A. So the destination is 1A to 7A. So this will be my tube list. So let me copy, and that's my tube list. We run a couple of minutes over, but I hope you enjoyed the session. If you have any question, feel free to post using the chat, or really you can drop us an email, and we will be able to reply and provide suggestions. So let's wait a few minutes, few seconds. Otherwise, I turn it over to you, Frank. So cannot find this connector in my HyDraw CAD 2020. Yes, the connector is, I think it was introduced in HyDraw CAD 21 or 22. So if you have older version of HyDraw CAD, you will need to upgrade to latest, at least to 22. So please check. Yes, you can drop an email and we'll verify your subscription. So in order to use what you have seen today, you'll need to have at least HyDraw CAD 2022 for sure. I don't remember if it was already in 21, but I think not. I think connector list was introduced in 2022 version as a first time. There's a question, can you do hose and fittings? Yes, it is possible. So in terms of hose and fittings, it's not different from what I've shown. So a connection line can be the hose. So instead of a tube, a connection line could be a hose, or you can use directly a hose symbol. So a hose is already an entity defined in the library manager as a hose. So this will be always included in a hose list. So in this case, it will be hose and fittings if you use the component group hose. So today it was more dedicated to tubing, but a similar approach can be used to hose. So the difference, if you use this symbol, then it's really a component. So the hose is a component, and the only way to get information is to use the hose assembly. So if I do the hose assembly, next, now you will see also the hose. So it will be hose and fittings. If you want to manage hose like the connection line, so a new connection line, that can become a hose, and the hose can have attributes. I have just a few examples in my database. And also the line can have a name. So as you can see, this is a new hose. Then if you want to extract the hose information from this line, you will need a connector list for the hose. But in this case, it's like a different table, a separate table. This is the table for the hose, and the fitting will be separate. So it's up to how you want to manage it. In terms of additional accessory, restrictor cable, or other items, really it's up to you. You can manage as accessories or as a placeholder, symbols that may be like a small cross, a small circle. So yes, all the special cases can be handled in a similar way, a similar approach. Thank you for all the questions. Let me see if I have. Yes, the webinar recording will be available in a few days, and you will get a link to in the email. Yes. So if there is no other questions, I thank you a lot, and I turn it over to Frank.
Alrighty, thanks, Carlo. So that is all the time we've got today. If you have a follow-up question or think of one maybe later, you can send us an email to support@bestusa.com with details, and we'll try to get back to you within the next 24 hours. I'd like to thank Carlo again for delivering today's product application demonstration. We'd be grateful if you could complete a short survey at the conclusion of today's webinar. Also, tomorrow you'll receive an email containing a link to view a replay of today's session. Feel free to share this link with your colleagues. A link to view video segments from prior webinars will also be provided in that email. As you can see, we do have the webinar series posted on our various social media channels. We invite you to follow these channels so you can receive the latest updates on our upcoming webinars as well as any product releases. Our next webinar is scheduled to occur Tuesday, May 21st, where we will demonstrate how to create and upload custom cavity libraries to use during manifold design layout in NetBlock 3D. Thanks again, Carlo, and thanks to everyone for attending today's session. Have a pleasant and safe day.